I'm 14 now, and I've been doing it since I was like 6 years old. You know what I'm saying? So, now veteran. Veteran. Man, I tell you, man, respect, you know.
Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. New York, New York, the most famous city on the planet, had a huge role in reggae's history and development in America, all thanks to its vibrant Jamaican communities that made it one of the most powerful hubs of that genre in the 1980s. Also the birthplace of hip-hop, it was one of the first places where the first fusion of reggae and hip-hop first emerged. 1994 was the year that the Born Jamaicans burst on the scene with a groundbreaking fusion album, Kids from Foreign, that took that style to the next level. But also, it was the same year that a 14-year-old fire-spitting toaster from the mean streets of East Flatbush in Brooklyn took the entire world by storm. This kid, Lil Vicious, stunned the entire world with his effortlessly brilliant flows, high-energy performances, and the confidence of a 30-year-old veteran. Music critics and fans had never seen anything like him in any previous child star. Don't get me wrong, we've seen plenty of youngsters with enormous talent. But while they all started as kids that matured over time, Lil Vicious seems to have been born with the swagger of a grown man. Coming up at a time in the 90s when there was an abundance of super talented dancehall DJs, this kid was a bright spark that everyone noticed. He had it all going for him. Tons of talent, a solid mentor to guide him, a record deal with a massive label, and perfect timing as he came on the scene at the very period that reggae hip-hop crossovers were at their peak. But after a promising start with some legit street and dance floor anthems, the kid simply vanished from the scene. But what was his story? Let's take a look at the brief reign of Lil Vicious. He was born Kwame Byron Riley in Brooklyn in 1979 and was the last of 5 children born to Jamaican immigrants who had moved to America in the early 1970s. His father, Mr. Riley, was among the founders of legendary New York sound system, Addies, and his older brothers were also crazy about music. So coming up in that musically charged environment, his own talent began to manifest before he was even out of his diapers. He began to perform at talent contests from the age of 5 and became known as Lil Vicious in the neighborhood, named after his older brother, Big Vicious, also a popular musician in Flatbush. In what was a tough place to grow up, he drew inspiration from his surroundings with all the issues like poverty and crime and poured them out in his lyrics whenever he had the microphone in his hand. By the age of 13, he was already among the hottest young dancehall DJs in New York and a massive fan of Buju Banton and Supercat. In fact, so hot that in 1993, he was invited to perform as opening act at a big concert for superstars like Buju Banton, Mad Cobra and Shabba Ranks. His own performance was fire and blew everyone watching away, including hip-hop legend Dougie Fresh. After the show, Dougie met the youngster, took him under his wing, and became his mentor in music. But mind you, Lil Vicious' mom was skeptical about her youngest child also going into music, but gave her blessing when Dougie Fresh proved he had his best interests at heart. As part of his mentorship, Dougie Fresh took him to Jamaica to get in touch with his roots in the middle of 1994. It was while they were there that hip-hop legend came up with a beat to a tune he wanted to do with his protege. And when they got back, they went to the studio to record the track named Freaks. This tune became a street anthem that was huge on the airwaves as well as the dancehall scene. Dougie Fresh took him around to perform on big stages like the Arsenio Hall Show and the Apollo Theatre, and everywhere he went, the audiences were mesmerized by the cute small kid with the big man swagger. His star power and talent caught the attention of Epic Records, who would sign him up on an album deal and spared no expense to make his debut album, named Destination Brooklyn, a classic. An elite mixed squad of hip-hop and dancehall producers like Dave Kelly, Howie T, and Salam Remy was selected to make that project the perfect crossover album. The lead single Nika was a breakout smash that rocked dance floors on a global scale, and I'm talking an anthem on 5 continents. On this track, Lil Vicious oozed imperious charm and lyrical skills like a veteran. His rapid fire flow on that track was, in my opinion, among the best from any dancehall artists in that particular year. That single reached number 69 on the Billboard Top 100 and number 9 on Billboard's Rap Singles charts. Interestingly, Lil Vicious revealed recently that Beanie Man was the one who gave him the hook that he built that whole track around during his trip to Jamaica a few months before. The album also featured Beenie Man on the track The Lesson, not to mention the street anthem in Glock, a conscious statement and commentary on the gun violence in New York in those times. The album eventually reached number 1 on the Billboard Reggae charts and 37 on the R&B Hip Hop Countdown. That youngster was by then a superstar who could barely make it in and out of school without being chased down by his fans. On the surface, he had made it, but all wasn't well at his record label. By all standards, his debut album was no flop, but not the outstanding success that Epic Records had expected it would be. To make matters worse, industry and cultural trends would make his situation even more dicey. First of all, by 1995, competition with other labels were really fierce, with the old guard like Columbia and Universal pulling their weight, plus new labels like Bad Boy and Death Row rising fast. And secondly, that mighty wave of the reggae hip-hop fusion, which had rocked America since the beginning of the 1990s, had begun to slow and decline badly, as gangster rap became America's #1 sound and took over the airwaves big time. It took a few more years before that sound made a comeback in the early 2000s, when the likes of Sean Paul and Beenie Man would again dominate the world charts and bag Grammy Awards as well. Seeing where the market was going, Epic Records would drop him, and despite his immense popularity at that time, he was unable to get signed by another major label. But he was still riding his wave and stayed busy doing shows all over America. His last major outing as a recording artist was incredibly on a track named Running, with superstar rappers and eventual foes Tupac and Notorious B.I.G. He rode on the wave of his heroics for a while, and now legally a grown-up, he took the little out of his name and became simply known as Vicious in 1997. And over the next few years, he would fade out of the limelight, though he popped up every now and then in the early 2000s. However, in the wake of the lockdowns a few years ago, he re-emerged with new music and online interviews in 2020 to the utmost delight of his old fans, who were all glad to see him doing well and healthy. These days, he's more visible in the public space, granting interviews, performing his hits with his mentor Dougie Fresh, and is said to be writing his autobiography on his life and career. Some say that Lil Vicious was unable to successfully navigate the transition from child star to mature artist, like a Dennis Brown or Nadine Sutherland. But I believe that he came up at a very unstable time in the music industry, and whatever the case, he will always be celebrated for his stunning heroics and amazing music when he blew the world's mind and became one of the hottest dancehall DJs on the planet at just 15. And that is something to be proud of. So there you have it. Thank you for watching this video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, God bless.